And we are live. Hey, what's up, New Zealand and the world? Lucas Lawman's Kiwi voice. We are here with Jason Woodmass, who is that, have I pronounced your surname correctly? Woodmass or Woodmass?
Woodmass. Yeah,
Woodmass,
yeah.
awesome. Who's been doing some amazing work trying to raise awareness across New Zealand for youth suicide awareness, youth mental health, all of that stuff, which I personally believe does not get enough airtime in mainstream media or elsewhere, as well as support. So we'll give it another 30 seconds or so, as we do here on Kiwi Voice, to let a few people jump on. But of course, we're going to have this up on the page permanently so people can watch it at their leisure. So thanks for joining us, Jason. It's awesome to meet you. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and tell us all about what you're up to.
No, yeah, thanks for that, Lucas. Like I was saying before, great to see you out there and doing the work you're doing as well, because spreading the word is really important and that awareness, and not just on my story, but all the stories you're covering as well. Unfortunately, like you were saying, the mainstream doesn't seem to get enough of the important issues out there that basically New Zealand want to hear and want to. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Now, look, I can understand some of the stuff that doesn't, get the headlines from a political perspective. This one, though, this what we're going to talk about tonight is it's almost a concern that it doesn't. Like it's the awareness is everything, as I've seen you say in a number of your videos.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can do our best with our we're getting close to 5,000 followers now, so it's good news. We're growing every day, and we've got a very sharey audience, so so hopefully we'll get it spread far and wide. So we've got
Yeah.
a dozen people or so on, so let's dive into it.
Cool.
So tell us, Jason, a bit about the journey. Like this is your platform. Kiwi Voice is attempting to be a platform for the people, and we'd really like you to just go into as much detail as you like about your journey across the North Island from Auckland to Wellington, what it was all about. Get into it. Go for your life.
Yeah. So it was about 3-4 months ago when it first kicked off. So, I've been doing a bit of work in between, but basically it started with inside my family, we've had some mental health issues with my brother, and my family's gone down that path where obviously things aren't in place to help people when they need it.
Yes.
So we had a tough time with him, but we got him through with a lot of love and attention and surrounding, and mainly work from us, not from the system.
Sure.
So that kind of opened my eyes up a bit to how the system wasn't helping people. And unfortunately, it's more of a chapter of someone's got to do something really bad to get the help, or
Mm.
they're actually going to lose their life as well. So the scenarios aren't great when you're going down that channel.
Yeah.
So I came that firsthand, and luckily my parents were amazing with him, and they're still looking after him at this point as well. But he's much better now.
Awesome.
Um, had a few nephews that went down the path of trying to take their lives as well, and luckily they didn't.
Mm.
It didn't. They actually survived what they did. And so basically, a lot of people, and especially our youth, just don't have the help there when they need it, and they don't know the access it. So it has to be a lot more accessible as well, and easy when in that crisis mode.
Yep.
Um, and then again, so what really kicked off was my son's friends at school. One of them committed suicide early this year, and we didn't know, but his dad had committed suicide the day before.
Oh,
So
goodness gracious. How old was
yeah,
is your son?
the boy that when he committed suicide was around about 17, so he was only really young. So still at school as well. Um, and then we lost his friend 3 months later, another friend to the best friend of the boy that committed suicide. 3 months later, he committed suicide. So it's like a massive ripple effect you get when it does happen.
Yep.
And things were in place. Obviously, it's really tough to catch, when dad committed suicide and the next day we lose the son. It's really
Yes.
hard to, get in there and stop that happening. But we still lost a best friend, 3 months later. So we lost him through the system, basically, where we should have kept him.
Right.
So I did a bit of research into, the school, and it's not just any attack on one school. It's generally what's happening out there in most schools now.
Sure.
They were lucky they had a counsellor, but the counsellor for a session, you got to book in, and it could take 2 to 3 weeks before you actually see that counsellor.
Oh, at least in some cases, yeah.
Yeah, there's a crisis point at the schools at the moment, so they've got people coming through trying to see the counsellor, and it's just impossible for the counsellor to see people when they need to.
Yep.
And again, that's a chance that, we're losing people because of that as well. You might get an appointment 2 weeks later. You might miss that appointment, or you might have done something before you actually got to that stage.
Yeah.
And then just doing a bit more research to some of the students in the school, and a lot of the students were doing self-harm. And it was self-harm in a way that they weren't really, they weren't hiding it. So they were, doing self-harms, like cutting themselves and stuff like that, and not
crying out for help.
Crying out for help, yeah. And so, and again, it was large numbers. It's not just, one or two. It's quite a few of the students in the last large portion reaching out for help, and they can't get it when they need it.
Yep.
So that opened my eyes to, a few things, and there was it was kind of a spiritual thing that happened when I got my direction to do what I was going to do.
Hey, look, I'm totally down with that. I'm on a little bit of a spiritual journey myself, so go into as much detail as you like there.
Absolutely blew me away, because I'm not, I wasn't a church goer. I didn't go to church or anything like that. Obviously was aware of what was going on with our youth, and the things we were going through with mandates and lockdowns and the pressure of the virus as well. So there was a lot of pressure out there with everything, with people trying to keep their jobs and get mandated out, and seeing our youth as well, because that affected our youth, as in sport-wise, they couldn't play sport. And with the lockdowns, it was everyone. So they'd shut down lockdowns. And what people don't understand is, if you have a year 13 boy, and he's his last year of his first 15, and he doesn't get to play, he loses. That's a massive loss to them.
Huge.
And that's really emotional for them. So you put that on top of what was going on, you just know that there's going to be an emotional response at some point that's not going to be good. Yes. And everyone's different too with the emotional response. It can be quite harsh, or it could be quite bad. And we've seen some things on the news with kids getting beaten up at school through fights and stuff like that. Emotional response, again, that's the stuff that happens. And so violence is in the increase as well with secondary schools as well, with kids going back to school with all these emotions and frustrations and no outlet to do what they need to do. So that kind of, I was trying to work out, what could I do? How could I help, in some way help our youth, and make sure that it was in a way that the awareness was getting out there as well, because unfortunately, like you were saying, it's the awareness that we need out there, and especially this subject, to know that we're in trouble. And so what happened was I dwelled on it for a little bit, and then I had a nap, because I was doing these weird hours with work and stuff. So I had a nap, and I got up, and at the time my partner was working from home, so she was on her computer, and I walked over to her and I said, I know what I got to do. And she looked at me, she looks at me, and I've just woken up, so my eyes all crunched up and everything, head sticking up, everything. And I was like, I've got to build a crucifix and take it to Wellington.
And this she would have gone, what?
She just looked at me like, what the hell? What are you? And she probably go back to sleep or something, go have another nap. It kind of came to me when I had the nap. It came in the vision, and it came in as a vision of how it was supposed to look and where I was supposed to go. I can't explain it. That's how it came about. So what happened was, I didn't really activate it straight away, because you second guess yourself. You go back and you're like,
you do.
Yeah, you're like, well, that was a bit nutty. That's a bit crazy. and the thing with what people don't understand as well, there's if you ever went to your family dinner, you don't talk about politics and you don't talk about religion because those are two things you're going to have a massive, argument probably about.
Almost always. Yep.
Definitely. So I was looking at, building a crucifix, which was religious, and obviously a political point to take it to Wellington, to make sure this is heard. So there's just two big things that stand out and can be you could have quite a negative impact from.
Yeah.
So I was, I went away thinking, gosh, I'm not sure if I could do it, and I'm not sure how it'll work or if it'll work at all. But then when I was going back to work, I kind of had these little silly accidents at work all the time, and I've never had those before. Like dropped the hammer on the foot, hit the thumb, and I just continuously had these little accidents. So it kind of.
What do you do for a living, Jason?
So I do a bit of property maintenance, so contracting to go out and do all sorts of stuff as well. So and that was lucky; it gave me the freedom to do what I was going to do as well. But I had a chemical spill, went in the eyes. It went all over me. My whole clothes got in a chem spill. So I ended up in hospital, getting the eyeballs flushed out. And I rang my partner. I was like, oh, okay, I've got to do this. I think, because I'm getting a kick up the pants to make sure I get out and do something. So that night when I got home from the hospital, that's when I started planning, to do what I need to do with the crucifix. So building it and how I was going to do it and trying to plan the walk as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all the plans set, had it all set, and then had the feeling like I just needed to do it. I needed to go as soon as possible. So the very next day, got some stuff done at work, and then started getting the parts and that what I needed to build and build Hope. So I built Hope on the second day after I came out of hospital, and then like it's hard to explain, but things would come to me like how I was gonna what it meant, what did this crucifix mean? So obviously the walk had to be tough, and our big guy JC, he walked 600 meters when he carried the crucifix after he was whipped and tortured and beaten and
gotcha. Yep.
So it had to be similar down the lines. What I kind of freaked out a bit because when I did the K's to Wellington was 670 K's, so it kind of replicated a little bit of the measurement. So when I built the crucifix, it needed to weigh close to what his one was too. His one was 70 kgs, so I didn't come close to that. It came roughly to 50 plus kgs from my one. And the length had to be pretty much, it was around about just under 5 meters on the length as well. So I tried to get as close as I could to the original. And then it was like, what does it represent? So what does the crucifix represent? And what it means is when I'm carrying it, I'm carrying the weight of the nation of our kids that might be in trouble. So when someone's under stress and in a bad way, they feel the weight on their shoulders. So the crucifix was representing the weight that I had to carry that replicated the weight that the kids would have felt. And also, obviously, if we get things wrong, we end up with a crucifix at the end. If we miss the kids and we miss helping them, and we're going to get to a stage where they're going to lose them, and we're going to have to bury them, so that the crucifix is going to resemble that as well.
Got you.
And then I was like on the first day after I got it out and ready, we just had the cyclone in Auckland, so it was pretty bad. The weather was really bad, so I got out on the cyclone. I was really nervous. I didn't know what I was going to come across. So I didn't know how I was going to be received as well. And I didn't know if it was going to work. You second guess yourself, like, is it even going to, get awareness?
Yeah, that's normal.
So I get out and I start after I got out of the car to build it. It was like there was like a roar of wind. It was like almost like a cyclone wind in the valley, like this roar. So when we stopped to where I needed to get out of the car, I opened the door nearly got ripped off the hinges from the wind. And you could hear this massive roar, and I still had to assemble the crucifix in the back.
Right, right.
So I was thinking like, shit, no, I might not, maybe we should do it tomorrow or something. But because you're trying to plan stuff to date, I was like, get out and do it. So I got out and I built hope, and then I just started walking, and it just felt right. It just felt absolutely like
Straight away.
every thought I had about it not working, it just felt like it was the right thing to do, and I could just it was this really cool feeling.
Nice.
Which was really nice. As I was walking, what a lot of things I didn't know. So apparently when you go on a spiritual walk, it's for clearing your mind, and you're kind of one with God, and God can feed you information. So what I didn't realize is this was kind of happening as I was walking. So that's when the name came across as Hope. So I was the Hope for our kids. So Hope was the name of the crucifix. So now I was about delivering hope for all of our kids in New Zealand and our youth that are in trouble. So this kind of comes across as I'm walking, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then I met a couple of farmers on that walk as well, because this is, where I started was just outside of Auckland, because I couldn't walk from, inside central Auckland. So there was a lot of farmers, and it was off when you do the route where you're walking, you're not on the main roads to start with, so you're in your highway frees and stuff like that, so you're kind of secluded. And I'm thinking to myself, this is like, Jesus, I'm not really meeting anyone or seeing many people this way, so I'm kind of
So you start questioning yourself again, yeah.
Again, yeah. But I met some farmers, which was cool, because our farmers had done, they were getting a bit of a bad flick from the media and politicians about, the climate change and what they were doing. So every farmer I met, I just thanked them for what they were doing. Said, you guys are the backbone of the country, man. You guys are keeping us going. We got no tourism. We basically shut down. We're in a bad spot, but you guys are holding us up. So I made sure they knew I appreciated them. So that was really cool.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And then so getting closer to our Narrow Warrior, we were out there, and I could see that a lot of towns were in a bad way, because obviously if you redirecting main roads off little towns, they kind of lose their shot. They suffer basically. So I saw a lot of the youth that were struggling as well, and that kind of hammered that point for what I was doing as well. So just saying hello to them and having a quick talk to them, make sure they're okay. But, a lot of those kids out there that I saw, it was late at night, when I saw a few of them, they're only young, so they're going to be struggling and getting up to mischief. So it kind of underlined the point of what I was going to.
Sure.
And then it was just about, just going as far as I could on the start to, I'd do little points of how far I could go. So I was trying to do 50 Ks a day to get, because obviously Wellington, they were having the protest down there as well.
At the same time.
At the same time. And then I'm limited to time with work as well. So on the first day, I banged out, 50 Ks plus, and just got close to outside of Waikato. And then I had to jump back in the car, break Hope down, and then go back to work, because I had to work.
Oh, right. Wow. Okay, far out. Didn't realize that. Yeah.
I'll draw the line in the sand, and I jump in the car and go back. And as I'm going back in the car, I start getting this. The phone starts pinging, and I'm like, so I answer, and a couple of my kids are ringing saying, "Oh, Dad, you're starting to get a bit of awareness out there. People, you're starting to go over social media and stuff like that." I was like, "Oh, it's cool," and it wasn't that big right then. And they were saying, "You need to set your page up," and I was like, "Well." I was lucky to have my own Facebook page, and then I set another one up, or another page, or Instagram as well. So I kind of left it at my own page for them. I went back to work the next day, did a big portion of work that day, then jumped back in the car that night after work, and then went back to where I drew the line in the sand and started walking again.
Committed.
So it Yeah, and to be honest, it was exactly that. After I took those first two steps, it was like now I'm committed to it,
Yeah,
and it felt like there was no way I was gonna, stop it. I was gonna keep going. So yeah, jumped back out there, got hope out. The weather wasn't as bad the next day, so it was quite good. Um, but then it kind of picked up halfway through that night and got even more stormier. So trees were coming down. We even like
right.
it was trees were coming across the road, and we had like the roads were given away as well. And then
Oh goodness.
so
Yeah.
so it was be bad again, and then so I pushed through though, and again because of the weather and because of where it was, I wasn't meeting a lot of people on the second day. But so then I finished. I drew the line in and I banged out 48 Ks that day. Body was feeling not too bad.
Yep.
Every Hope was weighing about 50 kgs, so about every I don't know about 30 steps, I just put Hope back on the other
Swap.
shoulder to balance the
Yeah,
load.
yeah.
So and then that was working quite well. I wasn't feeling too bad. And then But then I got a call that night because we went to a camp to sleep for the night. So I had my partner, she was in the car and she'd go up 2 Ks up ahead and then I'd
Yep.
walk up and then I'd meet her there and she'd know I was okay.
Sure.
And then she'd go another 2 Ks and carry some water and stuff and a bit of food. And so we banged out another 48 Ks, but I got a call from us, my school back in Auckland that they had got badly hit by that cyclone. So I wasn't planning to go back that night, but because of the cyclone hit the school, and that means they couldn't open the next day unless I went back and helped out. So
Right.
I
Right.
so Hope's back in the car because it could
Oh
break out.
goodness.
When I first started, it was 4.5 meters long, and we just had an SUV, so it was only just fitting inside the car. So I
Yep.
got it back to Auckland. Went and did some work at the school, cleaned it up, got it safe for the kids so they could come to school, kept it open. And
Yep.
then went back home and went, oh, geez, I got to work something out with Hope. I've got to engineer her a bit smarter. So I
Yeah.
ended up,
Yeah. Gotcha.
so I cut her in half. So and then could engineer it with bolts so I could rejoin it and get it back to its length once she was out.
Gotcha.
So,
Makes sense. Yep.
so I
Yep.
did that. So it was a lot easier to break down in the car. So we did that, and then we back on our journey again. And by then we're starting to get a lot more attention on social media. And our Stan Walker had actually seen one of the pics, and he actually shared it, so that got got a lot more awareness. So that it
That's
went
a
quite.
that's a great platform. Great way to kick things off. Yeah.
Oh, it was brilliant, eh? And
Yep.
I couldn't ask more from him for doing that because that's what it was about. It was about that awareness and that drive, and especially him because a lot of young people follow him as well. So it
Oh,
meant
full on. Yep. Yep.
So, so it meant like it was going to the right people and stuff. But now I have to make a page because it was getting that big. So I'm halfway in between my journey. When I do my walk, like I'd finish quite late after dark because I try and push as far as I could.
Yep.
And then by this part of the journey, we were getting locations where people were offering somewhere to stay. So we could stay somewhere and have a shower and have something to eat, and then I'd go back in and I was chief editor of videos as well. So it was me doing all the videos and editing as well. So,
Yep.
and depending where I was, the internet wasn't always fast.
Yes, I can
So,
imagine. Yep. Yep.
so sometimes it would take, I wouldn't get to sleep until I wouldn't finish the video to midnight. And then being social with the people that we were with as well and hearing their story as
Yes.
well. We get the video. I'll probably be in bed about 1 and we'd be up about 5 in the morning again, just prepping for the next day. So there wasn't much rest, but just having a bed and a shower. Oh my God, that was amazing. All
Yeah.
clean
Yeah.
and refreshed for the next day.
For sure.
And then getting to meet the people that we met and just hearing their story and hearing their concerns and obviously, a lot of the people that I met and stayed with were young families. So they had young kids that obviously they had a lot of concerns about the future for them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were mandated out of work and that as well. So there's a lot of pressure on the family.
So when you talk young people, just to sort of clarify that, so you're meaning anything 12 to 25 kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't understand that, especially in a male, the brain doesn't develop for male until around 25ish, and could be arguably a little bit later as well. So,
Me, it's still working, I think, and I'm 41.
Yeah, I think so. And so, but that opens the door. That's a lot wider, area of concern,
Yep.
for these. But a lot of the people I was meeting, their kids were quite young, like they were under 10 or 12, under 10
Yeah,
as
right.
well. And so their concern was their kids obviously getting segregated and not be able to do things at school or do
Yep.
things with their friends.
That was a
And
huge concern. Yeah. Yep.
they were feeling it. So I made that a big part of my push as well, making sure that the mental health and well-being of our kids and mandates and lockdowns is on top of what they were going through.
Mm.
So and that meant we could lose. We weren't doing well before, before the lockdowns.
Not at all. Mm. Mm.
So this on top of that is even worse. So a big worry for our kids going through this stress.
Yeah.
And by then, I was meeting amazing people, on this trip when I was kicking off, and everyone that I met either was touched with suicide or they lost a family member with suicide recently,
Right.
and that they were concerned with a lot of their family members for the future because a lot of them didn't know what was going to happen for them.
Mm.
And that was pretty scary and emotional too. Like I was taken in this emotional journey with them, and sharing, my concerns for them and my pain for my family as well, what they gone through, and just making sure they knew that they had someone to talk to, which was me at that point, and someone to stand up for them because they saw me as someone actually standing up for them, making it known that they were in a bad space or their family were in a bad space, and they needed that voice. And a lot of people didn't have a voice, especially back then.
Yes.
And that's why you're very important what you're doing now. I was meeting people like dads that had all the concerns in the world, but they didn't have no one to talk to. So when they spoke to me, I kind of, I let them share their concerns with me, and then it felt like someone was listening to what they were saying.
Absolutely.
And they felt, But what I did tell them was, I was like, I just met a guy around the corner who was saying the same thing. So they need to network and touch base. And
100%. So they know they're not alone. Yeah.
Yeah. That concern that they're alone is, really bad for their mental health as well, and the stress they were under.
Yes.
And the journey, like a few people reached out to me to try and get a GPS so they knew where I was and where I was going to be at a certain time. I was a bit uncomfortable with that because I didn't know where I was going to be, to tell the truth. That's how the trip was going. And I met some people that I was supposed to meet because of that. I'd second guess the direction I was going sometimes, but I'd come across people, and then after I met them, I realized that was the person I was supposed to meet for the reason.
100%.
And getting to know them and getting to hear their story, and they put a message on hope. So everyone that I met would put a little message on hope, for their past loved one or for their a positive change for the future, which was neat. Yeah. And it was really funny. Every time that happened, I felt this power, coming through hope, like she was getting stronger. She was really starting to mean some really special stuff.
Yeah.
And it was sharing the love and the pain of the people I was meeting, was actually starting to actually go into hope, which I can't explain. It was just a feeling I was getting with it.
Yeah.
And then really emotional for me too, like meeting these people. So, obviously I'm hearing their stories, which, a lot of concerns with loved ones had lost, through suicide and through the same rain of 2019 where mandates were coming through and lockdown especially. So, I would take that in, and I hugged everyone. This, time, our government was saying we couldn't hug or talk to anyone, that kind of crazy stuff.
We should never stop that. We should never stop that.
I was hugging everyone I met, I was hugging them, and it was really neat. It just brought back, what New Zealand was about. The New Zealand I remembered was, you cared for one another, and you didn't you weren't scared of stuff. You're out
Yes.
there, and you just took the bull by the horns, and you took and you led life that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people need a hug sometimes,
Oh,
especially
100%.
through tough times. So it was
Yeah.
really neat. But what I'd find is that when I go through the end of the town, is I meet about 20, 25 people, and I've heard all their stories and the concerns, and I've felt, and a lot of them, a lot of us, we were crying, when we were talking because it's so emotional.
Mm.
And what I'd find at the end of the town when I walk out of the town is all the emotions would build up in me, and in hope as well, which was really cool.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
then tears would come down my eyes.
Yes.
So as this tears would just flow down my eyes at the end of the town, which was an amazing feeling. And I thank the big guy for giving it to me, because as much as the emotions were a lot to take in, it was kind of eye opening, and it was like people sharing something really personal, and then
So you felt I would say, would you, or could I say that you might have felt, you felt privileged or special for the fact that they were open enough to do that? Yeah.
to open up and share those. Kiwis
Yeah.
don't really do that. We're not that type of people
Correct.
to share our issues or problems with people. But
Yeah.
it was probably the right time for me to do what I was doing. With a lot of people under stress, and
Yes.
and then not a lot of people feeling like they're not heard and not having someone to talk to. So it was really the perfect time for me to do what I was doing.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it was, yeah, amazing feeling, like, a lot to take in, but I felt like, I was privileged to have, that the feeling of their compassion, their love, and their loss.
Awesome.
And,
Awesome.
and that drove me, that actually empowered me to carry
Oh, I
on,
could imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
like physically it was tough. I was trying to bang out 40 to 50 Ks a day. And
Yes. I could.
originally,
Oh, yeah.
originally when I started, because I had a timeline too, so I was like, I tried to plan it, had the map out, like get from here to here, but it didn't
Yep.
work out that way. It was like, because I
It
met
never
so many
does.
people. And I was saying, like, my partner Mitch would be up to, she'd be 2 Ks out, and she'd end up coming back to me, because she's like, because it would take so long to get to the 2 Ks
Yeah.
sometimes, because I
Yeah.
met so many people, and people would stop and say hello, and people were so cool. Like Kiwi was cool. Like, they'd stop and give you food and give you a drink, and just someone would just jump out of the car, give you a hug, and carry on.
Oh,
So
so good. Did the interaction start to increase the further down the island you got?
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
obviously the more the word got out, and but the cool thing was there was two of us doing a walk with a crucifix. So there was Paul Atkinson, who was walking from the South Island, and
Right.
I didn't know about him. I never knew the journey I did. I never knew anyone had done anything like what I was doing. To me, I didn't Google anything. It just came to me on that when I had that nap. So
Yep.
I thought no one else on the planet had done what I was doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, so when someone would message me and go, "I saw you in Picton," I was like, I thought they'd taken the Mickey, with someone, how it's social media. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kind of, I kind of said, "Oh no, I'm in the North Island." I kind of ignored it, but then I found out Paul went to Picton. He came across to Picton, and he got a parade in Picton.
Right.
And my mate, I didn't know, my mate sent it to me. So, I see the Paul getting a parade in Picton. And I was just blown away. I was like, oh man, there's someone actually. So I'm coming from the north, and he's coming
Yep.
from the south, and we're both heading to Wellington.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I was actually blown away with that. And Paul is an amazing guy as well. So I actually met him. We walked into each other in Wellington. So
Oh,
we
amazing.
come across, which is, I actually had tears in my eyes. I've never cried so much in my life on this trip.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah.
I had tears in my eyes, because it was like, it was just him doing his trip at this time, me doing it at the same time, and then actually walking into each other, it was just blew me away.
Yes.
And
Yep.
when I met him, he was worried. He thought I wouldn't be happy to meet him, because he thought, maybe he's taking my thunder or something like that.
Yeah.
But it
Right.
was the total opposite. I was totally blown away. And when I met him, I gave him a massive hug, and just, I said to him, man, I just can't believe how the big guy works sometimes, doing this
Yep.
amazing thing. And he actually he was touched with suicide in his family. So his brother committed suicide. So
Yeah. Right.
once I explained to him what I was doing, my cope up on my trip was, he was actually kind of blown away with it, and he told me a few personal things that I won't say, but he did fill in, with his brother, and that he had taken his life. So,
Yeah, right.
so
So
again,
what? So it's so widespread. Like and that's the thing with why I think what you're doing is so important is that people understanding about how widespread the issue is and how many different people it touches. At any one time, that we don't really know unless we have the conversations. Or we just keep communicating. And through this period that we've had, the last couple of years, that's been squeezed. It's been the ability to keep that communication open. I mean, sure, we've got the internet, we've still got all that, but like in reality, people were scared to, for various reasons, and that just accelerated it. So you just don't know until you start talking, right?
Yeah, and that was a cool thing that people could actually talk to me about it, because actually what I was representing, they felt comfortable and they could come out and talk to me, which was really neat.
Yeah.
And you touching base on a really good part of it too, because one of the things I looked into was what was our government doing to try and make it better.
Yes.
So in 2019 they did an actual Every Life Matters plan. They call Every Life Matters. That's what they called it, and
Gotcha.
that was a suicide prevention plan to.
Yeah.
But this is pre lockdown or COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is all before this came on top of it. So and so I looked through it and went through it, and a lot of the things that they were promoting to stop suicide, they were actually doing the opposite. So isolation, isolating families or kids, and we're talking about grandparents as well, isolated.
Of course.
And then people that that are losing, obviously older and they're dying, so you can't go see them. We would have seen a lot of things like people trying to come back from Australia to see their family and they were passing and they couldn't get here, or they weren't allowed.
MIQ was a massive one, and I don't think we can underestimate how much of an effect it would have. The example that you've just used there, funerals, weddings, all of that stuff, where naturally people would be coming together and they couldn't, and it's almost critical in a lot of ways for the mental stability and also the emotional, spiritual stability of a family or a group, to come together to mourn and to not be able to. That rips people apart.
And to watch it, because my nephew actually lost his twins. So actually, when they were buried, there was young pre-birth. But when they were buried, he was there by himself, basically with his partner, and one other person could be there. And you're watching this online, and there's no actually, you actually, it's really hard to watch because you can't actually make sure that he's okay.
Yeah.
And what a terrible thing to go through, just losing someone in your family and not being able to be there for them.
Yes, 100%. Look, I'm conscious of time. We don't have to cut off anytime soon, but I'm thinking there's a couple other things we need to go through. And I'd like to cover off, absolutely. So you got more attention as you were getting down the country, and you got through to Wellington.
Yeah.
What was the reception like when you got into Wellington? Relive a little bit of that for us.
Oh, so I was actually physically shattered when I got to Wellington.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I was really feeling, and I did a couple of videos where I actually I videoed myself and spoke, and you can actually, when you see them, you can see like I was shattered.
Yeah.
So when I got there, and I hadn't really been to Wellington Central very often. I've been there for sports, but mainly in the stadiums and stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this in the city too well. So when I got there, I got to one of it was like, if you watch a Jaws movie, this was like, the police were trying to, because they saw me coming with a crucifix. And
that's a good analogy.
Yeah, I'd lost my bloody flag and my New Zealand, because I had the New Zealand flag, and I was just set it off because it was such a beautiful flag. But I lost it in a box in a blue, because it was so windy it blew off. So I was so bummed that I didn't have it. But I'm carrying the crucifix, and these, the first police car drives past and stops, and then goes around and stops around the corner, and you can see them on there, they're calling, And then another police car comes up and stops me, and they're like, "Oh, so what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm going to Parliament building." And obviously, because our amazing protesters before had just been evicted, and
Yes.
the feeling in the city was still really tense, to be honest.
Oh, so you arrived after it had all. Oh,
Yeah,
right.
but
Yeah.
I think
Wow. Okay. Different. Yep.
and that's how I think a lot of people message me and go, "Oh, wish you came when we were there, and we could have, had a little bit of a celebration." But I don't think it was meant to be that way. I think
Yeah.
it was
Yep. I
meant
knew
to
you'd say
be,
that. Yep. Yep.
yeah, and that's how the whole journey was. It was meant to be in certain ways, and I just
Yes.
kind of had to let my journey go to
Yep.
make sure that he kind of drove me more than I was driving me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
For sure.
so that there was really tense feeling with the police, and then a couple stopped and they wanted to take my name and stuff like that, and I said I wasn't going to give it,
Hmm.
um, and they just said they tried to say stay off the road. I was going, and I was like, "Well, you're going to give me a ticket for no rego or something, because it had two wheels on the back."
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they kind of laughed and said, "No, you just got to stay off and be safe." I was like, "Okay," and then so I get to the first blockade. And so that's all blocked off, and they got two constables standing there, so I rock up, and I've got Hope on my shoulder, and I put Hope down, and I'm like, I need to get through, and they're like, well, you're not getting through. You can't get through. It's all cordoned off. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, can you get your sergeant? I need to talk to him. And so they went and got the sergeant, but it was when he went, one stayed and one went. When the
Yep.
other guy went, the constable that was there was like, "Oh, can I get the pic with you? I've seen you on social media and stuff."
Awesome.
So he wanted a quick pic, which was pretty funny at the time.
Yep.
Then his sergeant comes back and he's like, "Oh, sorry, we can't let you, and it's going to be closed. It is closed, and no one can go through."
Mm.
So I was like, "Can you please just let MP or let them know that I'm here?" And they said, "Well, they basically said, well, no, kind of no, they're not going to."
Right. Right.
But I knew they were responding. They were actually going back, and because they'd walk to another constable and they'd talk to them, and he'd walk off to another one, and you'd see them
Yeah. Of
doing
course.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then there's a reporter that showed up there at the same time. He was an older gentleman. I can't remember his name. So he saw me and he
Okay.
was like, wanted to know the story. So I told him the story, and he kind of
Cool.
followed me. He kind of followed me around because the spot I was at, I kind of needed to be closer to the beehive, so I had to kind of circle right around.
Yep.
So I said, I just went, oh, I'm going to go. So the reporter followed me, and we went right around to the top of the beehive where the freedom sign was. So we ended
Yep.
up on
I
that
know. Yeah.
side.
Yep.
Yeah, and I came across some more constables on the way, and so I said, "Can I speak to the sergeant?" They went and got their sergeant, and I said, I'm here to get Hope to Parliament Stairs. I didn't know why Parliament Stairs was important.
Mm.
I was like, I just need to get to Parliament Stairs and say a little karakia for everyone that passed on Hope.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
to
And
finish my
were you
journey.
aware of the way that things had ended at that point?
I was actually fasting 5 nights in. So
Okay.
for some reason the big guy kind of said
Yeah.
fast, so I ended up fasting.
Right.
And so on the fourth day of my fast, I wasn't watching social media too much, but I just pulled my phone up, and it was the first thing that popped up was the protesters getting taken out, and
Yep.
it was really hard to watch, and I was nearly going
Yeah.
to break my
It really
fast because
was.
I was nearly going to break my fast because actually a takeaway bar, and the partner was getting to it. So he didn't get to eat in front of me. But I
Yeah.
wasn't really, I was kind of being the fourth day into it, I was kind of starting to feel it. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, it kind of sharpened my mind, and I was like, no,
Yes.
I'm not going to touch it. And I got pretty emotional with what happened. It was really hard to watch. And I met all these people that they were saying these bad things about. I'd met on the trip. So either they were going to Wellington or coming back from Wellington, a lot of them. And these are like really cool Kiwi families, with young kids and just nothing but love and passion for
Yeah.
what they were doing. And
Yeah.
all the stories I got back, from when they were actually in Wellington and inside the camp, they just said it was amazing. All
Yeah.
love, all good. I heard nothing but good stuff.
That's all I ever heard. Yeah.
Yeah, so to see that when I saw it on the footage, I was quite, it was pretty hard to watch, and I was a bit emotional. But it sharpened my pencil, and
Yes.
it kind of focused me to do what I needed to do. And the one of the things that I didn't probably realize, another thing was the fasting. Um, I looked it up later. It's quite spiritual to fast as well, and it keeps your connections going. But
Yes.
the other thing was when I got to Wellington and I said I wasn't going to leave because they were trying to make me leave the place. And I said, no, I'm not leaving until I get to the Parliament stairs. So then that was like I had to do a standoff. So
Right. Yeah.
so I turned Hope around, and there's a tree that I could go under, which was really cool, shaded from the sun because it's like 30 degrees, it's really hot.
Yes.
And I could wheel Hope backwards into this little station where the wheels went in, and it was like a perfect spot for it. And I just said to the police, I'm not going, I'm staying here. So I stood with Hope for another 25 hours right through the night.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I got a lot of respect from the police because the 3 shifts that would come through, they still saw me there. So by the time the next day came, 3 shifts had gone through, and they all knew my name and who I was, and they were blown away with what I was doing, and still there when they come back.
Good to hear.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then it was like just a standoff to try and get through so we get the Parliament stairs. That reporter came back to me later, the older reporter, and he said to me, because I didn't know why, I just knew where I needed to go. But he actually said that there was an old tradition that if you had something that you didn't like with the government, you took it to the Parliament stairs and you laid it there to kind of protest it.
Yes.
So I was kind of blown away with that because I didn't really know that. And also that I had the fasting was really good too, because 25 hours I didn't need to go to the toilet, which was good because it'd be pretty hard.
That's solid effort. Yeah.
It was pretty mean. So it kind of all come to me later, like these things were actually working out quite well, which I was
for sure.
Unfortunately, the very next day, my partner came down with COVID. So, and she was staying with her family, and then she was like really worried that she might give it to them, so she couldn't go back. And so I said to her, well, what are you going to do? And she goes, I'm going to have to drive back to Auckland. So I was like, to me, I was like, I can't let you drive back to Auckland by yourself,
No.
So I kind of had a little prayer. And there's a few prayers that I had on this journey that kind of blew me away. The first one was in Taihape. I had a prayer, and it was like I kind of wanted to know I was doing the right thing and going the right way. So I went away to a tree and just had a little prayer. And so I was expecting, you see on the movies and stuff when the big guy answers, when God answers you, and it's kind of, a conversation, and it's kind of, funny. My experience was totally different. It was when I asked him, was I going in the right direction? He came back with "Save my children," and that rocked me. Because I wasn't ready for an answer like that, and I wasn't ready for the way. For my experience, it kind of vibrated right through me how it came to me. It wasn't like you see on the movies when someone talks to you. It was like a massive vibration and went through me, and it totally rocked me. Just getting that answer, because that's a big thing coming from basically from God saying, "Save my children."
Of course.
And so again, emotional. I teared up again. I was in a bad state after that one, because I was like, "How am I going to do this?"
Weight on your shoulders.
Yeah, it was a lot of weight, and that was even more than hope. It was like, so that rocked me, that one, but I got over through that, and then I took it in a way that I'm doing the right thing. Just keep going, keep doing what I'm doing. So it gave me the motivation to keep doing what I was doing. Again, when I was in Parliament, when I just had a little prayer, and this was in front of the constable, so the constable was looking at me, so I had a prayer, and when I'd pray, I just open my hands like this and just pray. And so I kind of asked him, was it okay if I go, if I go and take my partner back, So I blatantly just asked them that. And all I got was this massive hand felt like come down my back.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
like, and it kind of cradled me from the back. And it was like saying, it's okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so again, again, tears start pouring out of the eyes. And this is in front of the constable too. So,
yeah, yeah,
but it was cool to do it like that because, seeing the impacts. And I said to them, I was like, the boss, my boss, is not happy with what you guys are doing. So, I
mm,
was basically saying, you guys are working for the wrong team, basically.
yeah, for sure. Yep, yep,
So we jumped after that we jumped in the car and we packed up Hope and I'm smashed, like, obviously, 670K walk,
bloody hell, yeah,
walking in
amazing,
between
amazing.
and did a 25-hour stand somehow.
Yep,
But a lot of people in Wellington got me through that as well. A lot of the teachers that were down there for the mandate, so come see me. A
yep,
lot of support, a lot of adversity. There's a few people not happy to see me as well.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
you got to expect that as
Oh,
well.
of course, yeah, yeah.
One lady, an elderly lady, she was across the road and she screams out, "You're 2,000 years too late!" And I just
Ah,
had to laugh because I was like, "That's a good one."
yeah,
And
that is a good one.
yeah, and I had this guy going past me. He loved his alcohol, so he'd be walking to the pub, and he'd go, "Oh, we cross paths again," So he was doing all these little cross jokes, but it's cool,
Ah,
entertaining.
gotcha.
So
Nice.
we met about 4 or 5 times, and he nailed a few, which are pretty cool.
Good man, good man.
But I had some young girls show up, and they were like, I was really feeling it, and this journey's been like, when I'm really feeling it, someone will show up, and it will be in a way to try and it will give me energy or
Yep,
refocus me.
yep,
So they showed up and they sat down. They saw who I was, they knew who I was, and they sat down and they put their speaker out and they played a song, and it was "Stand by Me," and that was one of the first one songs I used in the videos.
yep,
So it
yep.
just hit me back, like, and it just sharpened me, sharpened me back up. And I thanked them. I was like, "Oh, thank you for playing that song." And I even got a tear, a tear came to my eye when they're playing it because the body was fresh. I was absolutely
Oh,
smashed.
I could imagine. I could absolutely imagine. Yeah, yep.
But then they put the next song and it's "Fuck the Police," and I'm like, "No, don't play that one," because
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't want anyone to get hurt. I don't want
Yes,
anyone to
of
get
course.
in what we'd seen with the protest. I didn't want anyone, and a few people wanted to stay around me, and I told them, "No, I don't want you around because not
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I don't want you around, because I know what will happen."
yeah.
And yeah, so
Yeah, I can tell just from hearing you talk that there would be no way that you would want any of that sort of stuff to happen, and you were probably, I would assume, quite gutted about how the whole thing ended. Hey, look, I just want to jump a little bit,
yeah,
Jason, if I may, about something that I think is quite pertinent as we head towards an hour mark there. You speak very well. I appreciate listening to your story. It's awesome. But you've been on a bit of as an additional thing to this. You've been pushing through various emails and other outlets, the
yeah,
government, to provide detail around what plan they had in place or what information that they had received around the effect that the whole response was going to have on the youth and the mental health situation, which was already bad, as we've discussed,
yeah.
etc. So tell us a little bit about that and how you've been getting on there.
Yeah, so myself and there's another gentleman. We've got a page, a website, and we're both youth advocates on it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
about pushing back at the government the way we can do as advocates, because advocates for the youth means that you're not obliged by anything funded from the government, or you're not have any obligations financially for everyone else. So
Okay.
Myself and Ben Bartlett, we did up a email and we kind of put some important questions back to the government. One was that was there a risk assessment done
That's the one. Yep.
for the lockdowns? And this is a really important one because it should have been done.
Yes.
Once you put something in place, once you're planning something through the government, you've got to actually address it. Like, what's the damage going to happen? So they should have done a risk assessment for this, so how did that look? What are the risks they think and stuff like that? So we asked for that, to be emailed back to us so we could see what it was and
Yes.
make sure one was done, because this is really important. This was done.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Um, and there was a couple other things like, what is their strategy? What is the government's strategy to make sure our youth are okay? So when you put things in like lockdowns and mandates, you know that if you've done the risk assessment, there's going to be damage.
Yes, you would hope so.
Yeah, yeah. And so what was put in place to make sure our kids are okay? Because if it was the Every Life Matters prevention plan, so that doesn't it was ill void because it was pre-COVID, and
Yes.
everything they were doing and saying to prevent it, they were actually making it worse for our kids.
That's a totally different thing. Totally changed, yeah.
Yeah, so there should have been a new one done. So there should have been something new done, and it should have been in place and ready when they started the lockdown, so they had the safety net for our youth. So what I did was we emailed that one first, and we added a few mainstream media, and we added a few other politicians in as well to make sure that it was, not just one person receiving it. Also, I included our PM, Jacinda Ardern, Ashley Blomfield. I think David Clark was in it as well, because I think he was Minister of Health
at the time. Yep, he was. Yep.
Yeah, so it's putting a big question out there. For me, these aren't easy. They shouldn't be too hard to answer because it should have already been done. So as long as they were happy with sharing the information, which mean they should be, because they're the most transparent government out.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh so loudly.
It should be easy. Like the risk assessment should have been on file backed up. Like they should have already done all that. So that should be quite easy to give out. The plans should have been in place already, so it should be easy to answer. So 2 weeks later, no reply. So I sent another email just reminding them that I'd sent it, and I included a few more different people in the email as well. I did get you do always get an initial response from means they've accepted that it's been sent, but it doesn't mean they've read it. So the second response I got was they had read it, but they needed a bit more time to answer it with his team. So that was fair enough. You want to answer it properly. For me, I kind of, when I read it, I thought, they're pushing for time.
Yeah.
That means, they get more time to answer something. And now it's gone into, it's gone close to, it was in April when I sent the first one. So it's pedding a lot of time at the moment. So I resent another one, which was a bit more aggressive on the lines of, what I've done financially, what I've done, to try and promote the awareness, and the people that I've met on the way. I've made promises to them that I was going to try and follow up the best I could.
Sure.
So, not only are they answering for me, they're answering for all the ones who lost their loved ones as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so still no response on that one. It does still leave, you can actually have the Freedom Acts to try and get that as well. So that was, I didn't want to do that straight away. I wanted to go through a process where they could actually give this information a bit more willingly or openly.
Just talk like humans.
Talk like humans. And again, like, when I was in Wellington, like not one of those MPs came down to meet or to talk to me or to find out what was going on, which was disappointing. It's disappointing because not that I really respected them enough for it, because the stories and the heartfelt love emotions from the people I met were way more important than I thought than they were. But but when you're a health minister in New Zealand, or if you're one of the health ministers, it's really important to address issues, and this is a massive issue.
Of course.
What we're going to see, in the next 2 to 5 years is going to be horrific, because nothing that I've seen is in place to help our kids. Nothing at all.
Yeah, 100%.
The budget they put out 900,000 over 4 years through, and the money's going backbench again. It's not going to where it needs to go. They actually gave 25 mil to the students to help them through their mental health, which was brilliant. This money that they put through, but they didn't. You can throw money at stuff, but it's not always going to be good unless you.
It's got to be used properly. Yeah.
But it ended up being 300 students went for a session, so it calculated to around about $16,000 per session. Now, if you do the calculation of Mike King, sorry, at I Am Hope, they were doing sessions for $120.
Yeah, I was just reading that just the other day before we got onto this. I follow Mike King, and amazing what he's doing. Sorry.
Him and his organization is brilliant. And imagine if that 25 mil went to I Am Hope, and what they could have done with that $120 session, how many lives they would have saved. But $16,000 per session they wasted. And I'm not saying that the 300 people that went, students went for it needed it, but I already know of students that have committed suicide since then. So that money effectively went through, and that we've still lost students. So A, money wasted. B, it wasn't effective, and C, we still lost lives. So that really drives me and upsets me and makes me pretty pissed off when you kind of find this out. So there's nothing in place to help our kids at the moment. That's what I see. And the 900, you had Sean Robinson was on the news a few weeks ago. And what the really cool thing has been, and I'm hoping, that I've helped with it. In the last, 4 to 5 weeks, there's been a lot more mental health over the news. And Sean Robinson was on the news a couple of weeks back, and they were talking about the $1.9 billion that was given from the Labor government. He said that $1.9 billion was only half what it was needed to catch up for the last 10 years to get to what was neglected. So
equilibrium.
Yeah. So I need to get to where we're needed. So if you imagine 900 mil that the next budget's given, so we're still 1.9 billion still short from what we needed. So this is just not going to work. And that money, again, it's not going to be effective because it's in the back. It's in the back benches. It's not in the front where it's needed.
Yes.
The organisations like you see John Curran with Mighty, which is brilliant. He's come out and try and put it through the schools where it needs to go. Yes. Unfortunately, we're trying to put more pressure on the teachers again. And the teachers are under a lot of pressure at the moment.
Already,
so it's a really good thing, but I think trying to hand it to them is not going to be effective enough. It's more pressure for our teacher.
Yeah, so, for sure.
As good as it is, there could be another option. Maybe the teacher aides are what we train up. Maybe train the teacher aides up as counsellors. So while there is a teacher aide, they're learning to be a counsellor as well, and that's taking no pressure on the teacher. Maybe smart stuff like that.
There's a million different things that could be done better. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
And my big thing is what I can do is the awareness, because obviously suicide's a massive issue, and there's a lot more factors. There's bullying, there's poverty, lack of education. Owen Powell, he's an advocate for education. And he did an open letter to the government as well with his concerns of the kids not getting the education through lockdowns and stuff, and saying they're really in trouble. And if we look at the news today and we see the ram raids, we see kids going to gangs, we see the violence, we see all of this is a part of what we haven't done well over the last two plus years.
Yes.
So kids have been out of school. They don't even want to get out of bed in the morning. Some of the kids I know I've seen at the schools, taking a dump in the garden because they haven't lost all the discipline and what they needed. And so once you lose that direction, you imagine the pressure going on to the teachers, and the teachers can't cope with that.
Oh, 100%. They really can't. Hey, look, Jason, I hate to do this, but we are going to have to cut things off as we get past the hour. But I would really like to be able to continue the conversation. If we can do this again at some stage soon, that would be awesome. I think there's a million more things that we could actually go through. And as Kiwi Voice continues to grow as well, we're going to have even a larger platform and hopefully get more awareness out there. It's been really awesome talking to you. I really appreciate all the work that you're doing and continue to do. Let's close it off with what are your next steps? What's on the horizon, the near horizon?
So I've done a few things after Wellington. So I did
Yep.
Tongaroa walk as well for awareness. I did the Papamora, then up the mount as well. And so it's important for me just to get out there and keep doing stuff,
Yes.
just to
Yep.
push the awareness. I was thinking of Taranaki, Mount Taranaki. That's going to be a really tough one, but unfortunately, the
Oh,
weather
climbing it.
conditions. Climate, yeah. So
Yep.
take hope to the top. So that'll be pretty
Wow.
cool.
That'll
And
be
it's
epic.
just about getting, kids like they like seeing the wow factors and stuff. So it's getting an awareness and making sure that they get the message as well. So just keep pushing, eh? Just going to keep
Yeah.
pushing.
100%, and we want to follow you on this journey. So, big supporter personally. Kiwi Voice is myself and one other person. So, I would say Kiwi Voice is a massive supporter. We've had Jen who helps us commenting here as well. I would encourage you, Jason, through your page or your personal Facebook or whatever, get amongst the comments. I can see a stream coming through here. We've got some awesome people that are supportive of what you're doing, and let's tee this up again soon. We'll keep in touch by email, and let's have another conversation and keep this thing going.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. Awesome. Thanks, Kiwi Voice.
Awesome. Yep. Really good to meet you. And we'll talk again real soon.
Awesome.
Thanks, mate.
See you, buddy.